We're going to do the roundtable discussion, and then we're going to try to hold a bunch of time at the end to do some Q&A. First things first, introduction to our esteemed panelists. So first, I'll go as far east and work my way back west. So starting with Yves Serventi, BIM VDC leader, experienced team member from Implenia. If you're in North America, you're not sure what Implenia is, I highly recommend you take a look, do some Googling. Implenia is quite an impressive business and really digital innovators in Europe. So welcome, Yves. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much, Javier.
Okay. I'll work now my way to Ireland. So if you're in, I should have said cheers, by the way. If you have tea or coffee, welcome. I'm already on my second one here. I got to be a little careful here and get a little jittery, but welcome if you're drinking tea in Europe or if you're drinking coffee here in North America. Great to have you. So next we have Jonathan Sutton, digital implementation manager for Jacobs Ireland. Jacobs is obviously a global EPCM, engineering, procurement, construction management leader and a big player in Europe. Welcome, Jonathan. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Javier. Thanks for the invite.
Fantastic. And now, last but not least, Dominic Corrado, coming up from us in Texas, Balfour Beatty, Texas, Director of Digital Technology at Balfour Beatty, and all things drone reality capture geek like myself, maybe. Am I allowed to call you a geek just as a part of the introduction? Is that okay?
Yeah, I get it a lot around the office too. I'm used to it.
Let's go nerd. It's a little softer.
Yeah, nerd geek. It's all good.
Welcome aboard. This is probably going to get pretty nerdy, so we might as well set the foundation now. Okay, that's great. So thanks, and thanks to everyone who's logging in wherever you are in the world. I'm sure more will trickle in. We had quite a few signups. Before we dive into the roundtable, I do want to make one announcement. I don't know if everyone here knows this, but technically the reason we picked September 15th is because this is our 2-year anniversary since launch of CM Builder. So 2 years ago today, right around maybe just almost the same time, Pedro and I were on stage scrambling to put together our presentation of our launch of CM Builder. It was quite the experience. We're not going to relive. We're not going to relive that experience. Things didn't go exactly as planned, as all launches tend to do. So we are here today to try to exercise our demons, and we're going to say, okay, let's try. We're going to take the first 5 minutes and say, if we were to launch again with today's tools, what would it look like? So we're going to spend about 5 minutes and just introduce the current state of the project and how of the product, and how we're going to do this is with a little bit of role play. So Yves, Dominic, and Jonathan are actually going to be our site people. At the very end, we're going to get into our multiplayer mode, and Dominic is going to review our site plan and give us some real-time feedback on how we can improve it and show the feature. And Pedro and I are the persona of the managers in the office doing the work and trying to set up the 4D, trying to set up the site logistics, and we go from there. So without further ado, let's dive in. Pedro's going to show the screen. So for those who don't know, because many won't, CM Builder is a 100% web-based construction planning and simulation product. It allows you to just easily start by entering your address. And what we're going to do now, we're going to show this new project creation flow. So we're going to call this event project. Even project, that's okay. And then what happens is you're instantly taken into this interactive map. So let's go to Dallas. Let's go check out what Dominic's doing downstairs. Let's go to Dallas. Let's hit any address in the world, but let's start with Dallas. And what it's going to do is just move you to that location in the world and allow you to set up a map tile of whatever your site's going to be. Set your pin in the middle of your map tile. For the purposes of this demo, we're going to come back up to Vancouver because we've already, we've cooked the books here and we already have a site already set up. For this demo. So, okay, so what you're going to do is adjust, small, medium, large. You can move around the map tile how you want to set it. So we're going to do a little spot here down in Cole Harbour, downtown Vancouver, BC, Canada. We're playing the home backyard card. So hit generate map. So what's happening now is it's computing, grabbing surrounding building information, topographic information, so you can flip from topographic to flat. Right, so if you go to flat, you can also adjust the map thickness if you're doing deep excavation. Some of our industrial customers need that. So you have a fully kind of parametric way to set up your map tile. Let's go to topographic and hit apply. And just like that, you're off to the races, right? So now you have kind of an in-context view of your site with surrounding buildings. Those surrounding buildings are adjustable. You can add new massings on there. You can start bringing in information. You can adjust from street view to satellite view. You can do 3D mode, 2D mode. And if you go back to 3D mode and put on your topography lines, you can start visualizing your kind of contour lines of the site. So if I go here into my settings, you start visualizing what kind of like your topographic contour lines are at that site. Okay, so let's switch over to a new tab. So we've taken that same site, we've imported a drawing, we've imported a model, and we've imported a schedule. So step one is we want to make sure we have as accurate as possible as a map tile as we can. So because the model has the proper elevation in it and it's been snapped in, we're now going to adjust. We're going to see here that the top of the map, the terrain auto-generated from the map is a little bit off, as you can see. So the model and the actual topographic map tile is a bit off. So we're going to start using our new adjust terrain feature that to allow us to bring that map tile up and get a very accurate topography. This is something Yves has been waiting for, and others. So and us too. Yeah. So you know, the challenge, the speed of generating your map tile automatically just by putting an address is fantastic. But because it's using satellite imagery and different types of data, sometimes the top of map, depending where you are in the world, can have a tolerance. So this is a recent addition allowing us to bring very quick and easy way to adjust the top of the map and make sure we get a very, very accurate top of elevation. So we're going to basically snap the map tile up to the underside of the slab or whatever slab reference you're going to do. So what Pedro's doing now is he just added a few points manually. You can also just bring in a CSV, which is the more practical way to do this. So we're just going to refresh the page and you'll see that now the new map tile is going to be lined up where you need it to be. So if you zoom in here, there you go. So we've just adjusted, and you can kind of control how smooth you want that contour to be. And now once you've made the top of map bang on accurate, you're ready to start simulating, right? You're ready to start working. So first thing we're going to do is show the new, or not new, but the schedule integration. So if I pull my, if I just quickly show, I've imported a schedule. It's an XML coming from P6 or Microsoft Project, wherever you are. You have instantly in your UI all your information you need to be able to set up your milestones automatically. And then obviously bringing in BIM models as IFC, FBX, or STEP. We've already set up a few milestones. We've already linked up the model. So now what Pedro's going to do is he's going to start simulating. So let's start where you want to start with fencing. Yeah. Start setup. So as we do the fencing, I'm going to grab a sip of coffee here. Now we're just going to jump into our parametric resource catalog. As you can see, there's a couple new sketching features that we could do. So it's really nice being an editor and a viewer on the web. So Pedro's just going to drop in a couple points on a polyline and hit a fence. As you can see, automatically generates the geometry of that fence, calculates, actually moves it upon the topography automatically. Let's put in a gate. So this is obviously you could go much further. We're going to show at the end a kind of a more completed site when we get into the site setup review or site logistics review. But we're going to add a gate. So think about access. All these resources are parametric. So you can drop in a trailer, different types of tank, oil remediation tanks. We've got hundreds and hundreds of catalogs in the resources in the catalog, and so on and so forth. So we're not going to go crazy here. Let's just let's finish our site setup and maybe get into like excavation. So we're going to start the next level of planning here. We're just going to start looking at bulk excavation. We're just going to do like a couple excavation cuts. What Pedro's going to do is show us a couple milestones, and then we're going to show how we can use the new schedule sync and model sync feature to basically automatically adjust that input data, and it's going to automatically link to the pre-made milestone. So you don't have to redo the sequence. It's just like sync the model and you got your same sequence with the new model. Sync your schedule, you got the same milestones, or you can choose to change the milestone dates or whatever you want from the synced schedule. So Pedro's just going to start drawing on the map, define the elevation. We actually have these handles now. You can just drag up and down the depth of the excavation. So you don't even have to put the values in if you don't want. Oh, you got that's fine. And then as you do excavation cut 2, you have some options too while you're doing excavation to be able to have vertical shoring or sloped type of information on the excavation. You can control each face individually. You could say, okay, the one side is going to be sloped, but these sides are going to be vertically short. And we have a bunch of geotechnical options as well. So what Pedro's doing here is he's just snapping to planes. So just for more accuracy, saying, okay, I want this line to snap to this plane and this line to snap. This is all kind of part of our advanced polyline feature. So the idea is to be light, easy, and fast and accurate, right? So as you see, he just kind of quickly added a polyline and adjusted each of those lines to snap to faces, and then he's got a perfectly bang on excavation. So we've got different elevations we're playing with here, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's do foundation, and we'll do crane, and then we'll stop. So we got the foundation. We want to drop in a concrete pump truck, perhaps, and show how those real resources in the catalog link to milestones. So let's search the catalog here for concrete pump trucks. You could just search it. Oh, there you go. So this is a parametric resource. So all the boom arm angles, it's all adjustable inside the browser. Okay. So let's put in, let's say, and then actually, as you see here, maybe when you put the concrete truck, you can start controlling. This is going to become important when we sync our schedule. These resources link to milestones. So if the milestones change and the schedule changes, the resources will follow, right? So this is where you kind of get that smart connection based on the versioning of the of the job. So as you change your schedule over time, you don't have to start over with your simulation. You can just sync your key milestone date from the schedule, and then the actual resources are going to follow. Okay, so we're going to put some concrete pump. As you can see, the map to milestones. There's a couple features there. Control C, Control V to copy paste. Okay, let's do one more. Maybe let's talk about placing the crane. And then
Can I show some traffic control as well?
I think we just for time we'll just dive right into the next one.
Okay, cool. So show the crane and each
Yeah.
highlight where the model is.
So I think maybe if you can't hear Pedro, I'll talk. So yeah, we're gonna just show the full model. Grab a crane. Let's look for Lieber. Perfect. Drop in a crane. There we go. Adjust the cone. So the idea is that it's a fully parametric crane, and you can tie it to whichever milestones you want. So let's say crane setup and crane demob. Everything that happens in between it'll automatically stay. As soon as you hit to that milestone in your simulation, it's going to leave because it's part of the crane demob, for example. Okay, so we've done a few things. You get the idea. Now I say, Pedro, we got a new schedule. What do you do?
Got a new schedule.
This used to be have a little bit more manual work, but what we're just going to do here is we're going to go in and hit schedule. So we got the simulation here. You got a few milestones. Now you want to link a new schedule. Hit OK. What it does is basically says, here's all the new stuff. What do you want to keep? What do you want to change? Oh, tooltip.
Sorry?
I'll keep going.
Date existing schedule. Yeah, so all the dates will be updated to that.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have the new schedule with new dates. Apply changes. Oh, didn't seem like much changed.
Yeah.
There you go. At least.
The dates all changed.
Oh, the dates changed. Okay, but we didn't add any more. I think what it says is we didn't add milestones. The dates just changed, and then everything that sticks with it goes there. Now the next thing I'm going to say, we got a new model, right? So now you've done a simulation. You've done a big sequence. Model changes, which happens often, especially you're working through pre-con construction. We now have this model sync option, so you can just go in and find the new model, which is.
Our models are perfect when we get them.
They never change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now what we're going to do here, this is going to take a minute or two to cook or to update it. So we're going to switch over to our completed scenario. So all the panelists, if you don't mind, let's go into the completed scenario. So now we are in a finished simulation. Pedro, if you want to click through a few milestones here. So this is a kind of completed job. As you can see, those initials on the top right, this is our multiplayer mode. So think of like Google Docs. You know, we're all in the same scenario at the same time, seeing things happen live. And so we're watching Pedro's screen, but I'm in edit mode. So what's happened is, Dom, do me a favor. No, we're going to click. So Pedro, you click Dominic's camera. Let's follow Dominic. Dominic, review our site plan, maybe the first milestones, and tell us what you want to add. And we're going to add it live here. I'm going to add it behind the scenes here.
I get to be the superintendent and tell people what to do.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. Looks like we need a site tent somewhere on the, let's put it next to the trailers.
Okay, I'm gonna go in here. So let me add P. Boom. So next to the trailers, you see it pop up on your scene here. It's a parametric resource. So I'm just gonna adjust the size.
Oh, there it is. Huh.
Go. So do you think they need some picnic tables maybe?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, gotta have somewhere to eat.
gotta have something to eat. So what do we call them? Tables? Picnic?
What do we call it?
Lunch table. Okay. Okay. Drop this here. I'm gonna just go Control C, Control V. You see some picnic, some lunch tables showing up?
My safety guy is gonna be upset about that one.
Put them inside the tent.
Yeah, right now they're eating outside the tent here. So let me move this over and push it here. Boom, boom. There you go. So in the sweltering Texas heat, if your team needs to grab a hot snack or a cool snack, they can get out of the heat and go in your new tent here, Sean. So basically what we're trying to show here is that this is all real time. You're collaborating. You can have people on site, people in the office. Let's just solve the problem now. One big problem we see is back and forth and information flying. Here's a sketch, here's a drawing, model it, change it, back and forth. Let's just solve this problem in real time. Okay, so that's the multiplayer mode. This is a shareable link. We can't share to people because of Teams reasons here. We could have shared the link. You could all see in the simulation play in full. Maybe Pedro, if you don't want, just show what it looks like. Put it in full presentation mode. Basically takes over, plays a full simulation. And then once we do that, once we finish kind of showing this, this is where your callouts come up, your camera angles get stored, and you can just share this with a link to any of your project stakeholders, run scenarios, looking at different shoring options, et cetera, et cetera. So you get the idea. Let's go back to that model sync. Once that model gets cooked, you get an email notifying you, like, okay, your new version of your model should be ready, and it's still not ready yet. Okay.
This model takes like
2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Okay.
In the meantime, you want me to do anything over here at this part?
No, I think it's okay. I think just because of time, I don't want to take too much more than that. But basically, that's the idea. So 2 years ago today, we did a demo. We promised to keep improving the product, working with customers, innovating, and we've come a long way with that so far, and we're proud of that. And the team here that's in the room with us, everyone's proud of that. It's great. Here you go. So there's the new model. Hit review. What similar to the schedule sync, it just gives you a UI to say, hey, here's all the parts that have changed in your model. Do you want to keep them, or yes or no? And then you just select to keep them. See what's been deleted, what's been changed. Hit updated version. And the nice thing about this is that your sequence that you've built, like your kind of hide stow sequence, your milestones, is propagated. So now we've added facade. So the use case here is that the parts that change is that there's facade parts now, and that's come into the model, and you basically have new information that you can add into your simulation with a new model without having to go manually redo it all.
Which it's pretty crazy to see you do that in 15 minutes because, I mean, if this is the old way we would do it, it would take me, I don't know, 4 hours just to get everything into one static model. So no, it's
fantastic.
15 minute site logistics plan.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So we're going to stop there. We're going to transition this into the roundtable discussion. Speaking of 4D, Jonathan, I'm going to start with you. That's how we met each other. So you were on a mission to look for 4D planning. You've done some of this in your past. A lot of the solutions you found were they're powerful, but they can be kind of costly, time consuming. So you're trying to find something lightweight. Maybe just talk to us about 4D modeling in general from Jacob's perspective. Why is it valuable? Are clients asking for this more? Maybe do you want to walk us through your 4D journey to date?
Sure. I've been on a number of 4D sort of initiatives with different employers over the years, and they've all had their pros and cons, or they've had some benefit. I think the real value you get from 4D when it works is it helps to de-risk a lot of the constructability of the facility and the sequencing of works between the various trades. So most recently, we've been running a 4D initiative on a project here in Ireland, and I suppose some of the challenges we found are, we're using a software that is very good at 4D simulation, but it's a I wouldn't say it's a complicated software, but you're not going to pick it up in a few days. You need certain level training and understanding how to use it. From an accessibility point of view, you've got licensing cost issues there that you've got to, if you want your project team, your contract partners, your clients all to have access to it, you've got certain licensing issues you need to deal with there. So probably then as well, the flexibility of a platform to deal with the changes that happen when you get into the detailed sequencing of works between contract partners and trades. Being able to quickly adjust your 4D to suit exactly what's going to happen on site. That's sort of a challenge that we've seen previously with the initiatives we've run. So, look, we came across CM Builder, and I like the way it seems to be very user friendly, easy, quick to learn. As Dominic said there, in 15 minutes you're able to throw in some of the temporary facilities, a crane, etc., into the plan there. We've got multiple users all in the same space, all being able to edit in one environment. So you can have multiple contract partners working in the same environment and putting in their detailed sequencing of works. And that quickly helps to identify where there's going to be clashes between various trades, and they can help to resolve it in that space. Likewise, then the sharing capability within CM Builder, the fact that we can share that with the whole project team, all our contract partners, our clients, everyone can get visibility of exactly what the planned sequence of works are for the project. So that's really where we're seeing the benefits at the moment, and we'd hope to see further use of it on our projects going forward.
Very nice. So I know from Jacob's perspective, you're often getting requirements from the owner, or you're getting information from various data sources. I'm going to go to Yves. One thing we're talking with Yves, Implenia is a unique business in that you're also a developer. So developer builder, you do GC work, but you also have a development arm. And depending on where you're building for yourself or building for someone else, knowing what information you need and what data what your digital strategy should be kind of changes from job to job. You mentioned that's a real challenge when you're setting up the digital strategy. Can you talk to us a bit about your experiences there, and how does it differ when you're building, say, for someone else versus when you're building for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. That's not the easy part, because normally, we have. I guess the biggest challenge is to find a whole planner team that have the same knowledge about this BIM or 3D model things, and I guess that's one of the biggest challenge. And when we develop our own projects, we can show or say what we want. So we can say we need this information, we need that, we need this information to this time, or this can wait, and we need this first. And if we are in this position, we are happy with the project, let's say it like this. And when we are, let's say, only for example, the master builder for this, who do all the structure work, we have big problems to get the informations that we need if we want to build, let's say, model-based or with this BIM or VDC strategy behind. So that's a big challenge, let's say like this.
And I guess that information that you meant, once you figure out what it is, you said you're also quite a big initiative at Implenia is bringing that information to the field, right? So BIM to field. I saw online you guys had some stations with laptops or tablets on site where workers can come and they can go into the model and take a look at that. Can you talk to us a little bit about your kind of BIM to site, BIM to field initiative, and maybe what benefits you're seeing so far? What are the challenges? There's definitely, this is not meant, we're all tech enthusiasts. Let's assume we're all tech positive, but we don't have to just say everything's rose petals and pixie dust, because there's real challenges here, right? So you're welcome to say like what's working, where the value is, and what's maybe not working when trying to get models to the field.
Yeah, I guess that the biggest or the key to bring BIM to field is the user experience or the simplicity on construction side. Because the guys on construction side, I met a young guy who 25 years old, and I gave him a tablet, and he told me, oh no, I choose a job on construction site because I don't want to work with computers, and now I have to work with computers. So why are you doing this? So it's not a matter of the age, it's really a matter of the person. And yeah, our experience is quite positive. It also really depends on if you are, let's say, do your own project, if you are the developer, or if you're just one wheel in the whole machine, then it's different, because when we work, one big benefit is you don't have to pay, let's say, the print cost. So we evaluate the print cost in our company, and that's a quite big number. What you are printing and what are the costs for the printers. And then it's very easy to, or it's after, let's say, a half a year, you have already paid your tablets and everything without any problems. Yeah, I guess one of the biggest problem is the guys are let's say not brave enough to touch, let's say, a 50-inch screen, because they I don't know, they normally don't do this. They normally take the paper or I guess they are just not brave enough. But after some, let's say, we just finished one complete model-based construction site, and there we had just we call this planusli. That's it's like a box with a 49-inch screen in it, touch screen, linked to a CD platform, and there are all the plans that we need on construction site, and that's it, combined with tablets. And at the beginning, nobody, or only the foreman on construction site used it, and all the guys asked him if he can provide him this and this. But let's say after 1 or 2 months, everybody used this new technology on construction site, and then everybody was happy.
Isn't that the truth? I would echo just about anything when it comes to new digital technologies. Right at first, people are kind of like, I'm not going to touch this thing. Oh, that's just for those people over there. And as the people see value themselves, they can move there. And I really like that you just double click on the environmental thing. I don't think, if we have time at the end, we can talk about Implenia and mass timber and your whole net zero. And you guys are really pushing the envelope with regards to environmental sustainability goals. So just printing paper for 2 years pays for your tablet. That's a pretty interesting insight. Great. No, that's fantastic, Dominic. Let's go full nerd here. Like we talked about 3D reality capture. When we first did our first scan a number of years ago, we went and got a big investment, got a Faro scanner. There was like one software on the that existed to do verticality of a core, scan the core, see how vertical it is, deviation analysis. Now, like it's probably the top hyped thing out there. Is tons of new technologies, new products, new innovations. Can you talk a bit about like how much you're using 3D scanning, what some of the benefits are, the values are, some of the shortfalls? Can you share us your 3D scanning journey?
Yeah. It's a very similar journey. So as far as like laser scanning goes, the opportunities we always look for, do I need a screwdriver or do I need a drill? So if my 360 capture is my screwdriver, then laser scanning is my drill, right? Or maybe that's backwards because, one's slower. But, we'll really use that during renovations and just to be exact. And then the 360 capture, that's an interesting technology to me because, you kind of want every technology you do to come off like the PDF editor we use in America, like Bluebeam. Everybody uses Bluebeam. You want everything to be that successful. You want everything to be as successful as an iPad, right? And so, we kind of started off pushing drones really hard. And we really, it was kind of like, drones will be useful for like monthly photos, maybe a little bit of analysis. But when it really comes to the project, it's the 360 capture that's showing the most benefits for us. And it's just crazy how quickly it's taken off and been adopted by the whole business across the United States and the UK as well. I think we're starting to get into the China landscape too. So,
Why is that? You think it's just like speed? Because like an image, obviously, way lighter, way more. You do 360, and then it's like accessible like within minutes. Whereas like you scan, you got to post process, you got to register, you got to clean it up. Is that why it is, or?
I mean, it's kind of 360. It allows you to see the job site from anywhere. It's quick to do it. I mean, when you get into laser scanning, again, you got to have somebody that's very experienced doing it. It takes time to do it. And then it always seems that when we're done with laser scanning, you can only show it to 3 or 4 people. Whereas with 360 capture, you've completely democratized it because it's cloud-based.
Yeah.
They're just now figuring out how to make laser scanning accessible through the cloud. So it's one of those things. You got to have a very, very tactile approach with laser scanning on how you're going to get it out to the designers.
I think you look at it as it's 2 different purposes as well. Would you?
Yeah.
You say the 360 imagery it provides more accessibility for people around the globe to connect in and see the status of their project. Say for a client, whereas laser scanning, your purpose there is really to be able to use that information to make your as-built model or what you're going to hand over to the client more accurate, or to identify any deviations from your design compared to what's actually being constructed. There are 2 things as well, Dominic, that are very much part of our kind of what we like to use on our projects to ensure, and we use both of them. Laser scanning fits one purpose, and 360 imagery is what we do. I think it's the same thing you're talking about. It serves another purpose for our team.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess this, like, we're gonna get into modular design with you, Jonathan, later, but like it's like think of survey, accuracy, bang on, versus like I'm just grabbing information constantly. Also accurate, photogrammetry can be accurate, but like it's more about, like you say, you're telling a story, you're communicating easier, it's lighter touch. That's fantastic. Now, speaking of scanning, though, let's go back to scanning. You can do it many ways. Many people are starting to throw them on drones. Let's talk drones, because Dominic, we talked earlier, and you're like, you're like, why hasn't it taken off? Why are people not flying drones more? Can you talk through kind of your drone experience, and maybe what are the impediments to scaling drones and flying drones every job, like, or like every week? Why is this not happening more than it is currently?
So one thing is here in Texas, we're primarily a commercial education interior finish out company in the Texas Arizona division, right? So you can only document with a drone for so long. Now, if I was Jacobs and I was doing land surveys or something like that on their like heavy civil side, then that's a completely different aspect where I would get a laser scanner, hook it up to a drone. But we kind of like to play in our sweet spot and use the technologies that are readily available and a little bit more cost efficient. The other thing with drones is, you got to get certified, you got to find somebody, you got to get the person experienced once you get them using the drone. You got to, educate the job site as to the benefits, which is always fun and easily forgotten. And then, drones fall out of the sky. We got this thing called gravity here in Texas, at least. And it's kind of a safety concern sometimes. And we really don't use a lot of the like winged models. We use a lot of quadcopters and all of that. Yeah. So that's just another concern. You're just sitting there and you're like, I'm going to give this drone to this person. I hope they do the right thing with it. And we have plenty of protocols and practices in place, but it's just something that's always in the back of your mind. So, and then, people grew up with iPads. They didn't necessarily grow up with drones, so they don't see it as like the tape measure in their pocket. They see it as, I got to go do this and get a picture for the owner because, we got to send out a monthly update email. So we use it a lot in dirt excavation tracking. We're trying to use it on exterior skin punch, but if anybody's done photogrammetry on a glass building, vertical face, it doesn't work. I mean, it's near impossible, and we're just not there yet. I think it'll get there one of these days, but no, it's a really interesting technology, and we do get some value out of it, but just nowhere near as much as the 360 capture or the laser scanning. The laser scanning is starting to catch up to it within our division.
That's great. I mean, what does Elon Musk say why he's bearish on flying cars versus tunnels? Because it's not very calming when you're walking around with cars flying above you. Same for drone sites. Something going to fall off and decapitate me. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's good because I think like any technology, there's the way the technologists envision it. Like you've seen those things with design and actually how people, I saw like a GIF yesterday or GIF or whatever, where it's like they had like a cord going across and the person like lifted it up and walked under it, instead of just stepping over the cord. So, I mean, that's what happens a lot with these technologies. So I want to go over to Yves. So you can get scans from the ground, you can get them from the sky, or you can get them from robots. So robotics on site has been a topic that we've been looking at for a long time and just talking with people about. There's a lot of challenges, but you guys have done some really cool stuff. Can you talk a bit about your partnership with AnyBot I think it's out of ETH Zurich, which is like, for those who don't know, just like a world-renowned innovation university. Also, Angela from our team went there, I believe, if I'm going to pump Angela's tires. She's not here right now, but yeah, so maybe can you talk a bit about robotics on site? I think you guys have played around with Spot on site. What's that been? What have you learned? What are the constraints? Where do you think it will go in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we tried some, and we also tried the Boston Dynamics Spot, and we also tried the Swiss company it's a spin-off from ETH, but it was more by chance that this is a spin-off from ETH. Yeah, I guess we're looking also I guess we can speak about the scanning, and the problem is the time when you do scans. So we had the idea to reduce the scans, and then we was thinking on doing it automatically by robots, so they can scan by night when nobody's there. And so that was the first idea that we had. And then, yeah, we did some tests, and I would say we are not there yet. Let's say it like this. The robots are cool, they are great, they produce what you want. They are, let's say, partial autonomous, not fully autonomous. That's on construction site a little bit the problem, because you move every time something around, so the way will not be the same 1 hour later. So that's a bigger problem. The robots can adjust the way that they walk, but not every time. So we tried it, and we're looking for new, let's say, or we're working with Anybotics to see or to think about new use cases that are more usable on construction site. So we was thinking on maybe a stack out robot or something like this that really has an impact on construction, and not just the laser scanning. And we also looked for the Hilti, I guess it's also well known in the US and in Canada. So they do the J-bot, I guess. And then we asked the guys on construction side, is this a good thing? And then they told us no, because the guy who do this is not really good paid guy. And if he is tired, he takes another one to do it. So it's not very economically to buy a robot like this who can only drill holes in the ceiling. Yeah. So we did it. We tried to find right use cases, and feel free if you have an idea. So
I keep on doing the ROI real quick, and I'm like, so it costs that much to have the robot on site. So I'm essentially taking what would be, let's say $100,000 for a person and making it $200,000.
Yeah. I think this is one of the challenges with any new technology. At first, it's too expensive. You don't have enough volume but I think you're right in that it's like we have to ask ourselves as technologies what problems we're going to try to solve with them, right? Like let's try to solve risky job projects, things you can't get humans to do at least safely. One thing too, on the actual technical side, what we learned when we were trying to spend a little time on this was reprogramming the robot's very challenging, right? So you typically, depending on what type of robot we're talking about, when you said stakeout, are you talking more like lining up the floor slabs, like Dusty Robotics and these types of things? Is that what you mean, Yves? Like when you say stakeout robot, like putting the floor plan on the slab with the robot? Is that what you meant?
No, the Dusty robot. It's I guess that's we checked out Dusty robots, and it's you need a plain area to do it, and that's a big problem. So you have to clean first, and then you can start it. And in this time, you can stack it out by person. So that's the idea is good, and also it's a very bright robot. And if you have there something in what is not, or what he's not that flexible as you want or as you need on construction site. So we were thinking on like a legged robot, something like this, like Spot or this animal from Robotics, that that the robot can go or can walk over obstacles, and maybe also over reinforcement bars that are already installed. So this is the challenge, because DOSI robot, it's with wheels, and then you can put it in on one plane area, and then you can push play, and then he stack out. That's the idea. It's good, but it's not practicable, because our big vision is that the robot does this overnight. So the guys can come on in the morning and just put everything there and go on with work.
This is what my conclusion has been so far. We'll get there. Is like until in artificial general intelligence comes, you need humans. Robots are dumb. You need to program them, and the programming is a challenge. Like we were trying to look at automated welding solutions. We had a welding robot in our old office. Don't ask that question on that one. We had all kinds of stuff, and it was the reprogramming which is challenging. There's new solutions coming out where you move the robot and it records that, and the arm will do the same thing. So we're going in the right direction. But that's a great insight, because at the end of the day, if on site doesn't drive value, it's going to be hard to make that that investment. I want to ask one last question. I'm going to go back to Jonathan on all things design. How about partnering with institutions? Is that something that Implenia does a lot? Like in terms of like work joint ventures or programs with the universities? And if you have, what works well, what doesn't work well? Do you think it's a good source of innovation to partner with institutions like ETH Zurich?
Yeah, I guess it's a good solution to partner with universities. We try to work with the university as much as possible. We did support some the ETH. And we have also the students here. We support them if they do, let's say, a master thesis or something like this. They come to our company, and then they check out for a half a year or something on a special topic. Let's say that are also here with the 360 cameras. They do like a master thesis on that. So I guess it's very important to get the new ideas and get the new view, and also get new. Yeah, it's also good. We are always looking for good new colleagues. So I guess it's very good if you work with universities or institutions together.
Turns out 20-year-old engineers are in the prime, right? These are smart people and they're motivated. Tapping into that, great. Sorry,
I think it's very important that we do support our colleges and the education sector. I think Jacob's here as well. We'd be very much involved in STEAM and supporting our universities. We take on graduates every year, and I think that's where the future of our industry is, and being able to maybe give them an insight at an earlier stage as to what the kind of industry they're going to be moving into is like, and the sort of technology they use. And working with our colleges as well to ensure that it's kind of part of their curriculum to learn this sort of stuff as well. It helps them. Then we know we'll have a good resource pool in the future for people that'll come into our industry and be able to pick up things quickly. I think that is still something that needs more work, because we do have people coming out of different courses and colleges, and they're not quite up to speed with the kind of technology and the way that we deliver projects. So they have to learn that then once they join a business.
Fantastic. So Jonathan, VR. So I won't ask you for your future forecast on the metaverse. We won't go there today. Okay, I won't put you on the hot seat. But but VR is the first, I guess, gateway drug into that world. And so with you doing lots of healthcare jobs, you mentioned to me
Yeah.
before that the VR has just been a game changer when dealing with healthcare clients and stuff like that. Without getting into specifics, can you talk a little bit about just generally how that VR is changing the way you design and construct buildings with your clients being more sophisticated, high-end, healthcare clients, and what are the opportunities you're seeing from VR?
Well, I suppose VR started off a bit like the way robots is now, probably years ago, seen as a kind of a nice to have or a bit of a toy that was being advertised or promoted within construction. But I think what we found is that there is general benefit in how you use it. The cost of it is not overly expensive. Once you purchase the equipment and you have the resource internally, you can set it up and use it for your clients and the design workshops that we would hold during the design phase of our projects. And the main areas that we see is, I suppose, not everyone is able to properly visualize how their facility is going to be off a 2D drawing, a piece of paper on a table or a screen. So what VR does is it provides that greater sort of immersive experience for our clients to understand exactly how their facilities are going to look when they are built. What we do is we encourage our clients to bring in their operations team so that the people who are actually going to operate the facilities will understand how the building will look, how it will operate, and help them to identify maybe potential issues that are going to happen when the facility does get to that operation or maintenance phase. And what we do then is we're able to address these issues or these potential issues at the design phase. By doing that there's minimal cost to making an adjustment to your design at the design phase. Whereas once that issue gets picked up during the commissioning phase, it's a much more costly problem to try and solve. So I think that's where we see the benefit. We use it through our design phase of our projects for our clients' operations team to get in there and really understand their facilities. And therefore, by the end, when we hand over a facility to them, hopefully it's a much better facility for them to operate.
I want to just chime in. Please throw your questions into the Q&A. We're getting closer to the Q&A section, so if you have any questions for the panelists, throw them in there, please. Jonathan, one of the most powerful things I ever saw a few years ago with a company that unfortunately didn't make it, but they were trying really hard. We're doing some stuff but they were trying to do full prefab, full modular, flat pack, a little bit of modular, a little bit of flat pack. And meetings were being held in VR, and they were like moving pipes live, right? They were basically saying, okay, we got this diffuser here. This can't move. What can move? Okay, let's move the sprinkler head over here. Or the sprinkler needs to go here. Let's move this pipe. Where's the fittings going to be? Where's the access going to be? And it was like live in the meeting, right? There wasn't a static thing. They were actually moving the pipes around. It was pretty fantastic in terms of driving a real experience for the end user. For you, the next level of that, I guess, is XR, or some sort of mixed reality. Sounds like you've done some pretty cool stuff with HoloLens and are running some tests now. Can you talk about that next step of taking VR and the physical world and what XR might look like, or what you're seeing so far?
Well, for XR, we've been piloting HoloLens 2 on a number of projects over the past year. There's a number of use cases that we see the benefit of this technology. One is remote assist inspection. So there's applications you can use on the HoloLens. It means that we can, because our facilities could be built in different parts of the world, or the components that are getting, the offsite manufacture that's taking place can happen in different parts of the world, along with FATs and things like that. We can limit the amount of travel of people having to go and visit those sites. So where maybe you might have to, between 4 and 6 people may have to travel for an FAT or an offsite inspection. You can limit that number of people that have to visit that factory, but you can still provide a setup using the HoloLens and remote assist to allow everyone else dial in remotely, just like we're on a Teams call now. You could have one person on this call wearing the device and being able to carry out an inspection of that equipment with everyone else dialing in remotely. It's an interactive session as well, so everyone else who's remote to the site can interact with the person there. They can mark up on what they see on the screen. So if they want the person to look at a specific valve or tag or instrument, they can circle that, highlight that. The person wearing the device will see what the person remotely is talking about and be able to focus in on that. You can record all your sessions through it. You can take imagery through it. You can share content. So say you want to bring up the specification or the product data or a P&ID or something associated to that piece of equipment. You can share that content into the HoloLens and it'll display in the person's field of vision as they're looking at it. So that's, I suppose, one area we see the benefits of it, and then also taking it into a facility for carrying out inspections inside of facilities during the commissioning phase. And another area is where we would look at potential of for retrofit solutions, where we're looking to carry out additional design in existing facilities. We can bring that design, the model, actually out to site, and we can pin it to its location on site, and then we can compare how that design is going to fit in with the existing infrastructure, where the tie-in points, etc., are, and make sure that there's no other constraints on site that are going to affect that design.
That's nice.
Guys, if you want my 2 cents on AR or XR, any of that,
want all of it. Let's go.
I think one of the biggest things is right now it's kind of like a ham radio club. There's only like, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people doing it. But I think as soon as, and nobody's paying me to say this, and I'm just as critical of everybody who's mass manufacturing anything. I think, one, you got a certain subset of people that don't want to wear AR hard hats. I think we got some safety issues on the job site. But I think you're going to see it grow through the phones and the iPads, and I think you're going to see it grow through if Apple ever comes out with the Apple glasses. Now, if the Apple glasses are anything like the AirPods and they have 30 minutes of battery, then it's probably not going to work. But you got such a big consumer base on the App Store, it's going to blow up, And people are going to buy them first to use them for Spotify, and then we'll start getting the construction apps.
We'll get the consumer use cases will come first, and then us enterprise folks that are trying to solve business use cases come after. That's a great insight. I think that, anyone who's seen something like that. So Jonathan, thanks for sharing that, because it's probably worth throwing a little bit of R&D budget on seeing some of these startups that are looking at these problems and seeing what can be done. Dominic points out some really good constraints on scaling that, like in real life on site, which is a nice segue. We'll do one more question, then maybe we'll do it in the Q&A a little bit after, but I think it's a good segue anyway. So Dominic, you come from the site, I believe, and you started in the site, now you went to the office. So you've lived some of these problems yourself, and now you're helping deploy technology to solve those problems, which is a fantastic way to do it, I think. So what do you think, how do you think your experience on site has helped you be a better technologist?
It's funny, I started backwards. So I started with an English single source MEP coordination company, which all that means is we would draw mechanical, electrical, and plumbing instead of the subcontractors drawing it back in like 2012. Okay. So then I realized, I didn't know what a firewall was. I didn't know why it was important. I didn't know how it went together. So after 2 years of doing that, I went out into the field, and then, you get on site, and, I had one of my leaders at my company now, he looked at me one day and he goes, how do we get paper off the job site? And I said, take the copier out of the trailer. If you don't have the copier there, you're not going to use it all the time. It's going to force you to use the tools. It's just the same thing out in the job site. You see things day in, day out, and you're like, wow, this is really tedious or meticulous, or, we're still using paper everywhere. Like, triplicate carbon copy pieces of paper they were using back in the 80s. So I think when you've spent enough time and you see enough stuff and just hear and talk to enough people on a job site, you just kind of get in the mode of, how can I help the job site? How can I keep them running? How can I make them more efficient? How can I take more off their plate? And I don't know how it is in Europe, but we work long hours, and just getting people home to their families as often as possible, or getting them around their families more. I mean, that's kind of the underlying goal of, what we do as construction technologists. So
that's nice. I think it's something that many technologists struggle with, especially in construction. Construction is, I always like to make the case. Construction, things oh, well, bad productivity, why people are dinosaurs, why are you doing this way? It's like, well, not really. It's a very practical industry, right? There's a reason people are building stick build on site. It's the way to control the risk and rely on a few veterans that know what they're doing to be able to build a job. Will it go a little slower? Maybe. Does it maybe have more, perhaps it's not, as fancy as prefab, but it'll get built. And so bringing tools to make them more efficient, get home faster, spend more time with their family, get the job done faster, obviously better for the owner. That's a fantastic insight. So from the Q&A on that double click, I feel like this could be a homework question, but I'm going to set you up to knock it out of the park, Dominic. So Marty Corrado asks.
Oh God! Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
So
that was a plan.
There you go. That's the way to do it. This is softball. We're gonna start you off with the softball. Yeah. So basically saying all these robotics and things are really fancy, but like at the end of the day, someone on site gets to get into a hole and connect pipes in the building. How can we make layout quicker and more precise? So layout is a big deal. Surveyors are involved. You got to wait till they show up on the job. They're doing 5 jobs at once. They don't show up yesterday, so they show up tomorrow. So like what from a layout perspective, how do you think we can make it more precise and quicker on site?
I think we're in like alpha right now, right? I mean, I think the robots are going to have to be bigger and more rugged, or they're going to have to walk. I mean, we kind of addressed that one. I think Dusty Robotics, it's not all terrain enough, or it's going to have to be some sort of heavy lift drone, or I think it's all kind of there. It's just going to be connecting the dots in the most efficient manner possible.
Yeah, so you're basically saying like a 3-dimensional Dusty Robotics, like a way to something that can handle not just planar use cases. How about like total stations and these types of things? So like geolocation, RFID technology, these kind of things, can that help?
Yeah, there's also like advanced layout. So there's, light projectors that'll do it for you too, which kind of solve the same problem-ish. I'd like to see a light projector that like we could use that wouldn't kill people, that would just burn it into the floor. But you're not trying to introduce like
don't look at it
super hazardous environment, right?
You could use it, but don't look at it. It's like look at the sun.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and a couple more questions here. I'm going to throw them around. So VR. So Rodolfo asks about VR being maybe scaled more in the Scandinavian countries. I'll ask you, Jonathan. His question is, when do you anticipate VR post contract award becomes more scalable and more used more like on site, like superintendents and people on site actively using the AR VR kind of technologies to lay out the site, to validate the site while they're building, right? Like more practical in construction phase use cases versus kind of you mentioned some already with QA/QC. When do you think this becomes a bit more like used at in a larger scale?
So I think VR is very much used during the detailed design phase that we would have on projects. Probably as our projects are getting more condensed these days, we have detail overlapping with our construction to a certain extent. We do have on some of our sites, we do set up VR rooms, or we have the VR set up in the conference spaces so that the construction teams, when they're getting closer to the commencement of works on site, they can be in that VR space to understand exactly what the design is looking like. And again, also having the client being able to get into that space during the sort of the final part of the detailed design, that's a benefit. When you're actually out on site building it, I suppose I hadn't considered it to be used during construction. I don't know of the value yet there if you're actually viewing the design, but you've actually built it already, or you're in the process of building it. Probably that's where I see or the mixed reality solution that I mentioned there, where if you're in the midst of constructing some works on site, you can actually take the HoloLens out and superimpose the design over where you're actually building, putting in cable tray or pipe work, and be able to see the other services or trades that are going to be working in that area in the next couple of weeks or months.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. I think things like Starlink and more access, like stronger internet bandwidth on site is critical to these things, as everyone knows here.
Very good point.
Running things on phone is not super easy. You need
Very good point.
So there's some probably some
Yeah.
building block technologies have to improve first to be able to
Like
use
edge
this
computing.
edge, like exactly most of the data being computed at the edge.
Yeah.
Because what Yves said, right? If you slow people down on site within 3 minutes, they're just going to stop.
Useless. It's in the trash.
Yes,
It's-
no,
it's-
totally right. But VR, you could probably take offline to a certain extent, depending on the techno. Well, I suppose you wouldn't take. There's some devices you could possibly take out to site, but again, as you're saying, then you know, if it has to be connected to the, you know, it has to have a Wi-Fi connection or network connection, that's where you can struggle, and that is something that we've had to take into consideration when we're using it on site.
Last question, because we're at the hour. Thanks for everyone that stayed. And just, you know, this is what we're doing. This is what we're about to eat right now. So we got the 2-year anniversary pancake breakfast. Look at that. Look at that. Hey, yeah, sorry to throw that in there.
How bad were it?
Hey, well, Pedro didn't get it. I guess he didn't get the memo. So last question, Yves, for you. Let's finish here. So got a question from you, Yi. So I think we're talking a little bit about problem working back with technology, right? So you have a problem, people build technology to solve it. The question is, have you seen any new technology that's changed the construction process, right? So now that we have this technology, we build differently, or we do things differently. For example, pre-assembly of components, you know, on site, or, you know, maybe some like half prefab, like flat pack, we've seen work pretty well, depending on like low-rise wood frame buildings. Have you seen any of this, or do you have any examples? That's a hard question, but have you seen any technologies that really changed what you do on site?
I guess really changed. No, I guess they improved a lot of things, or a lot of processes, or improved the way of work, but it really changed it. That's a hard question. I don't know what is the change? So that's also a question. So when is it a change, and when is it an improvement? So we can use drones. We also use a mixed reality for the quality check on construction site. So to see if the openings are on the right place. That makes the process faster, but it's not accurate enough to do it in a, let's say, proper way. So just for the check, if we forgot something, this improves the process, but it not really changed something. So before you did a quality check with a plane, you used the paper plane and checked it, and now you use the tablet or the HoloLens to check it, but the process is the same.
Yeah, I think just some of the simplest technologies like GPS and robotic total stations made a pretty big impact, right, in terms of layout and putting cans and slabs or sleeves and slabs. These are things that we take for granted now, but probably when they first were built, it made a huge impact. So go ahead, Jonathan. Did you have something to add?
I was just going to add that, you know, scanning is not necessarily a brand new technology. It's been around a while, but I think that is something that the more it's used on projects, there's processes change in how we utilize the information that comes from our scans. You know, we use it for offsite. You know, we've got offsite manufacturing going on. We can use it to scan the what's being fabricated in a factory to ensure that when we bring it to site, it's actually it's aligned with the design and it'll fit into place without any issues. And we've used it in projects, and it's identifying where the supplier producing that equipment, whatever it is, hasn't built it correctly, and it has identified the issues in the factory where it can be fixed quicker to a higher quality, rather than having to do welding on site and things like that, which can cause other safety and quality issues. And then the accessibility of scans. So I don't know if we'd all agree, scanning has been challenging to be able to make that sort of the information. Sorry,
it's getting fixed.
That's a good machine learning use case. Machine learning is great for post-processing points and creating meshes. That's we've seen an improvement lately.
Yeah, I think being able to bring that, make it more accessible for the whole project team to access that information and compare it to your design. Again, that's where sort of it's changing our process, and well, it's actually introducing a process of reviewing our as-built, our scan data against our design and spotting where there's discrepancies. So I think that's just my 2 cents on it.
Right, Don.
So Andy Leek from Peric, one of my buddies, he reached out to me and he goes, "Is anybody using concrete printing or looking at it.
Yeah, we could have gone into 3D printing for concrete. I mean, I've seen a couple single family homes, a couple vertical walls done in the Middle East, but I'm not sure if it's how real it is, how scalable it is. Setting up a gantry on site and actually having the infrastructure, it seems like a challenging one to fit. But 3D, some people swear by 3D printing. There's a branch technologies trying to do 3D printing for facades, which is pretty interesting, with some technology. So that's a good one. Listen, I could do this for hours.
Yeah, I know.
This is just my average. I love talking like this. At some point, we probably got to stop because we've got a day job. But I appreciate so much you guys taking the time to do this. Jonathan, I wanted to get more into offsite manufacturing, and it's a great point. Like when you have a 3 millimeter tolerance from two connections and two mods coming together, how do you solve and in 3 dimensions? Like how do you solve these problems, right? Some of these technologies have become critical to be able to build with more modern methods of construction, MMC, all that kind of stuff. Maybe for a future panel, but I just want to say on behalf of everyone here, the people that are here in the audience, thank you so much for doing this. I hope there was some good value that came out of it, and I would say probably at the end, the future is friendly for construction tech. I think this is there's lots of innovation happening, and to all the startups and people trying to build solutions out there, keep going. Because the industry needs us, and it's an amazing industry. It's a big one. And Dominic, you mentioned you come from a family of construction folks, right? This is maybe our kids will be doing webinars in 30 years from now, talking about how they built the entire thing offsite with robots, and humans were home to their family. All right, they a little bit too much time actually at home with family.
My mind changes on that depending on the day.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, thanks so much, everyone. We'll end the webinar here. I'll hang out just for a few more minutes to the panelists. You guys can blow out of here if you want, or you can stick around if people have some additional questions. We don't have to stop immediately. So Alan shared an example out of Vienna. Alan from Vienna, hello. About a brick house built with a masonry robot. I've seen some masonry applications. That's assembly based. It's volumetric assembly based. It seems like a good use case, just like a robot that takes it out of an Amazon warehouse, right? It's the exact same use case. You got a box, you lift it, you put it there, or you put masonry. So that seems to me we probably already have that tech lying around, right? So I don't think I'll go through all the quick Q&A, but we'll just hang out here for a couple minutes while we end the session. Thanks, everyone.